What's up guys, and welcome back to the Drift Games YouTube channel. We are here at a very special place, and we've been to lots of workshops that build drift cars, but there's one that is so famous that while we were here at Drift Masters in Riga, we had to come and check it out. Now watch this. This is the grandstand at the first corner of the Riga drift track. Just behind it is HGK. Now, if you're not aware of what HGK are, they're probably one of the most famous drift car builders in the world, simply because they push the boundaries every single time they build a car. Some of the most famous cars in the world, like James Dean's Eurofighter, they're all built right here in this workshop in Latvia. So we're going to go in, catch up with Kristaps Bluss, and get a little tour around exclusively for the channel. Hey Kristaps, what's going on, man? Are you good?
What's up, guys? Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
So this weekend, Drift Masters, you're driving, which is awesome. Always good to have local people there. Firstly, it's amazing to be here because we've seen so many of your cars in Abu Dhabi and Ireland, but to actually come to where they're all created here is amazing. And I can't believe you're so close to the track, like behind the grandstand.
Yeah, everybody knows that, and the guys usually, the friends of ours, are stopping by when there is a competition, but hopefully it won't be that busy as past years, because we wanna keep the guys out from here a bit, because everybody's with all the madness around. Yeah, but yeah, welcome.
And is it true there's a gate that you can drive straight onto the circuit from here?
Yeah, it's right there. So
that's crazy. Like you can just drive straight onto the circuit from your workshop.
Exactly. 30 seconds and you're in the racetrack.
Perfect. Well, look, thank you so much for showing us around. And already, as a drift fan, I'm like, I've seen this car over here in Formula Drift, we've seen this car in Russia, but let's have a little talk around what started HGK. Lots of people that build drift cars, but very few that get to a level where everybody knows that. So where did it all start for you guys? Just from driving?
It started like for the most of the guys back in the backyard of my home when we built some few racetrack, circuit racing cars for the national class E30s at that time, and then slowly by slowly we were growing, like we wanted more, we were hungry for more racing, for more speed. Then we built some M3s for the endurance race, and then back in 2008, 9 I guess, the drifting became very popular, very famous here, and we jumped in that sport, and since then we've been making a big moves and been spending 4 years in FD, a lot of challenge and experience, and yeah, happy to where we are now.
Amazing. Well, I want to start with that FD car because
sure,
you guys here are, I suppose, your calling card, and people would recognize for the carbon Kevlar on a lot of drift cars. Before this, I never really saw carbon Kevlar on a drift car. So where did this come from, this carbon Kevlar idea?
Well, actually, if you remember, we started back in 2015, FD, we were competing with Z46.
Yeah.
Actually, underneath the livery, it was the carbon Kevlar itself, like you see it in the Eurofighter, but it wasn't, we didn't pay that much attention to that because we didn't thought maybe it's gonna be that cool or that fancy. And then when we built the first Eurofighter for the guy in Qatar, we sent it as it is, naked, and the guy kept it, and all the drift world just were like amazed how cool it looks. And we actually, being the ones who build these cars and manufacture the parts, we didn't realize at that point ourselves how cool it is to have a pure carbon Kevlar car.
And everyone loves this look. It's just a strange off green carbon. And the thing that's amazing to me is that obviously we started to see these cars pop up around the world, and we were like, what are these BMWs that are... And so, but the weird thing was, you weren't just selling body kits alone, you were actually selling chassis. So you essentially were building a chassis with a kit on it. So that was a little further than a normal parts company would do. Is they don't build chassis, they build, you know, either that they can ship away, they build a body kit, or they might do a bit of fabrication work. But you guys were putting all that together to give someone a base to build a car, basically.
Yeah, at the beginning we were focusing only on the full builds. Then of course, since we have the parts, we were selling the parts, and then at certain points when most of the guys, I have to say, cannot afford a full build, and but they wanna have like the very base of the project to have it in a high level. we decided, why don't we start selling the rolling chassis for the customers, and we have done few of them, and it works really well, because like the wiring and engine wise, you can do it yourself. It's just a mechanical part, but there is some small details, and as I always say, the key of the good and long lasting race car is the prep, how much you spend the time on the chassis and how well you prepare it, so you don't have to reassembly every single year, repaint the chassis and stuff like that. Our chassis can last like 5 to, I don't know, 10 years without repainting them.
That's
believe it or not, but like we were driving 3 seasons with a E46 back in FD, and we never took it back home. We never took it in the parts. We were running the whole 3 seasons, just repairing the engine and doing some maintenance. But the car itself, and we were even on a salt flat lake doing some drifting stuff, and the car was the whole in the salt. Whoa. We just washed it off in 8 hours, and
so it goes to show it saves you time.
Back to the racetrack.
Yeah, because most people would assume everything gets stripped back to parts, but the car is obviously built so well at the start, saves you some time. Plus, when you're not from the US, it makes it a lot easier to actually have a car that you can just do maintenance on rather than rebuild every year. So you guys are, and this is the way I would describe your company if nobody knew, I would say sort of the first company to make almost like a production car, drift car, that people can recognize as a Eurofighter, as a HGK car, rather than just a body kit or wheels or parts individually. This was like something people would recognize, and we've seen Sultan Al Qasimi, we've seen James Dean, Swedish Drift Brothers. These guys have this sort of chassis, and the amazing thing for you was obviously you had such success in the car and it worked so well, but the strange thing you're saying is it's 6 to 8 months just to build the chassis of the car itself, so not a quick thing you guys are putting together and sending out.
No, it's not an easy case. Yeah, the guys are working really hard and spending a lot of time and living in the dust, I would say, just to strap it down, to double stitch welding all the parts, and yeah, it takes a lot of time, and at the end, yeah, just you make it paint in that our unique color. Actually, many guys are asking what's the color code.
I think more
we still doesn't share that. We share with the guys with James Dean who have built it with us, but originally it's silver McLaren. So go and find yourself.
Yeah, it's not cheap. So this is your Formula Drift car, the later Formula Drift car. This is essentially the first Eurofighter, or the one that inspired probably a lot of the other cars. And you guys run, is this a Mass Motorsport V8?
This is a Mass Motorsport V8, but this is a spare engine, because the one what originally was here was called Big Boy, and with very big heads and big that intake, but that one broke last year, and still we haven't got it repaired back from the mast. And this is kind of like E46 setup. And
what sort of power is it running this spare engine at the moment?
Well, NA it makes 730 horsepower, and we are adding 120 horsepower with the nitrous.
Wow, so essentially the same power as James Dean is running in his car, or more or less. So to be competitive in Drift Masters especially, you need the speed.
Exactly, you need the speed, you need the power, and to get those 285s running, yeah, you definitely 700 horsepower is not enough.
So this is the car that was in Formula Drift with the engine from the old E46. And this is the new car?
Yeah, this we've been keeping as a secret until today, until now.
We want to take a minute just to thank one of our partners here at Drift Games, MTech Brakes. They're one of the UK's leading supplier of performance brake pads, discs and hoses. We have run them on all of our cars. They're an amazing product and at an amazing price. So make sure you check out their full range at mtechbrakes.com.
But yeah, because Russia has slightly different rules and not as strict as FD. Means many guys have way lighter cars than ours, and this was the former FD car, was one of the heaviest.
When you say cars, heavy, what are we talking in kilos?
We talking about 1300.
That isn't too light, actually.
It's not too light, not too heavy, but it's still like 150 kilos above what average weight of the cars are in RDS.
Right.
And then since we want to compete in Russia, in Europe, maybe someday go back to FD, so it means sooner or later we would need 2 cars just to make our sponsors and supporters happy, and so we don't have that all the logistic problems, so we can keep in different continents different
and of
cars.
course that's the way it is going now, because
Yeah,
events could be 1 week apart, and there's no way of getting a car to both events. And
well, James Dean's what he has like 4 cars or
like
something.
4 cars, yeah.
Well,
all
he should have.
all the variants that he should have, and he has
So,
1
yeah,
car
that
in.
was the decision to build the fresh Eurofighter, and with this one, this is the latest and the coolest, and all the experience what we learned from the past years are implemented here, and there is so many cool parts that the former FD car doesn't have.
This engine to me, I don't recognize it. Basically, I don't know what this is. So you're gonna have to.
This is actually the same setup as we use with the Mass Motorsport. We just tried to work with the Texas Speed guys, see how it works. We haven't started up, so we don't know what power range we are. They're saying 800, but well, dyno will show.
And it's like we saw when we went to Darren McNamara's. This motor mounts on the front. Stuff. This is it's becoming more common. We're seeing this like very race car essentially.
Yeah, when we built the James Dean car, we made the front motor plate for the 2JZ, and obviously since we are V8 guys, I would say most of our cars have the V8, so we decided to go with the full motor mount, front motor mount for the V8. And the coolest thing about here, so you can relocate the water pump, and if you want to swap the cam, you don't have to take apart the whole front. So this is the cover here, where you just take it off and pull out the cam.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Without dumping off the oil, so you can basically do it over the weekend in a racetrack.
You can change the cam by just pulling out the front plate.
And the cool thing about it is that these mounts itself attached to the chassis, they're detachable. So basically this is the universal type mount that you can just install in any chassis just by swapping these detachable mounts that are attached to the chassis.
And it gives you so much more room for the headers, for everything else.
Exactly, less problems, yeah, and then it's easy as well to just, if you, during the competition weekend, if you want to take it out, you just unscrew it and just pull it out.
That's
so
incredible.
As you see, it's basically you just take out these screws, and there is nothing that would
be in the way. Just take out the bumper bar, pull it straight out.
Exactly.
And obviously this is the fresh out the packet sort of car. Basically, this is everything that you guys have learned from the old car, trying new things, but then essentially some of the stuff is what you've already learned, like it would be the same as James Dean's car or anyone else, and then little improvements as you go along.
More or less, our target is to make it as light as possible, and as you can see, there's a lot of carbon fiber parts. We even got the light blocks from the guys, and thanks for that. Then we even made some nose paddle plates, and steering column, as you see, is from the carbon. So the guys really worked.
I've never seen that.
Never seen that before.
Asses off just to drop the weight as much as possible.
When you're starting to put the steering column carbon fiber, you're really trying to drop the weight. You're really trying to go every kilo now is important in drifting. Right? It's like a race car.
Well, you can see even the hinges. Like probably one of the guys has spent a few days. The bonnet hinges. See all the holes is just like.
Oh wow!
Gram by gram, drop it off. Even you see for the windshield wipers, the cover, even that the guys made from the carbon, so not to have the steel plate. Yeah, if you walk around, you can almost in any place can find something cool about it.
And the one thing I wanted to say, I mean, these are incredible cars. You have a few outside though as well, just kind of awaiting. That's the thing I always thought they were one commission build, but you guys have a few different.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I'm sorry, we can't pass this before we go anywhere. This is now, obviously, I used to have an SR20 powered Corolla. Certainly didn't look like this. This is now another build that has gone, what we would say is, like every drifter, just kind of, exceeded every time. So this is a customer car.
The customer car, this is a iconic AE86, yeah, Hachiroku, I think, or Hachiraku.
Hachiroku is
yeah, and the legendary car for the drifting when it began back in Japan. So most of the guys were using this chassis, and a friend of ours, he had it for the many years, and it was kind of mid-level car, and then he just wanted to fresh it up. He brought the new chassis, just in general, just I want to swap the chassis, but
Yeah.
Guys at the GK, they cannot do a simple way.
I was about to
so-
say, it's not a service and, you know, put a bumper bar on the car.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, I see we've gone to another level here with this.
Exactly. There is nothing from the stock car. The front suspension, we installed the lock kit from the S13. The rear end is from the Volvo. We installed the shocks, custom shocks, the rear. Basically every single place where you go, where you want to do something or add or install, it's custom made. And this is, I think, the most coolest thing about this, because when the hood and the bonnet will be, all the body kit will be installed, so as you can see, it's all clear here, like that.
That's amazing. It's totally changed the lines of the car, because you now have this huge scoop.
and rear mounted radiator, of course, and
This to
all
me
the
is
cool
just
things.
a work of art, I will tell you guys, because from the fans to everything being so neat, even the fuel, the fuel cell, everything is just so, because the car is small.
Compact.
It's just all
Yeah.
in this, but it's still safe because you can build around it. But I think, yeah, that rear window with the it's just like a
show car.
show car. Yeah, it doesn't look like something that's going to be going out crashing into walls, which they all do. It's almost a shame to drift cars when they're this clean. It is an amazing build, and just as we were walking out, I wanted to just look at some of the cars before they get to this level. So you guys have some chassis that are, I would say, we're almost pre-prepared or ready to go. We've watched, obviously this is like we always say with drift cars, it's like a process. So this is the
Final
very
stage.
final stage. We go right back to where we start from, which I think a lot of people would be interested to see. So this is a sort of where they start, right?
Yeah, this is a mid stage car. So this is a prepped rolling chassis. So the roll cage is installed, the suspension is installed, some of the body panels are installed. So basically this car requires only the body kit and the hardware, the engine, transmission, differential and stuff like that. But basically from this point you can just, if you buy it as it is, rolling chassis, so within a month if you have all the parts, you just can be out on the track.
So a lot of guys will probably say, we're awaiting the car to come, we'll collect all the parts that we want to put in it, the car arrives. The hardest part is the fabrication, that's the longest part.
Exactly.
So they're sort of skipping that, and then they can put in whatever gearbox, whatever differential, whatever engine setup and the wiring, and you're kind of done and dusted at that point, which is amazing to think that you can buy them like that. And do you have like, oh, this is like all different stages of which?
Yeah, well, originally it starts from that. You
Yeah.
just look for the chassis. So this is something, if there is a good chassis, not too rusty, so we're definitely gonna buy it and just keep it for the future potential projects. So this is just,
And they're not too, like they're pretty plentiful, the E92. That's
yeah, and then there is what is called crate, no? What is that?
yeah, a stack.
Yeah, and there's a few cars. This is the chassis that one of the customers, he also brought us a chassis, so we prepared it, and the next stage when he will save some money, he will go to the next stage, install all the parts, and this one is also halfly prepared. So basically there is some customers that come over, make some down payment, we start working on them, some of them disappear for years, and then the cars like that is just
paused.
standing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like on pause until they come
some
back.
of them, well, situation is changing, but we are up to that, so we're definitely not going to invest our
And
time
as I
and
said,
money.
not to put too fine a point on it, but if I was to walk into HGK and say I want to build a full Eurofighter, what is the rough cost of the car? I mean, that's a huge amount of work and time and energy and materials to go in. It's a proper touring car, race car.
In general, like usually I say it starts from 80k euros and can go up to
Wherever you want.
200, yeah, whatever you, maybe you want to put some diamonds in the headlights or something, so it's all about you. So
No, that makes perfect sense. No, as I said, and I think, you know, a lot of people would say that's crazy, but if you're at the top level of a sport, the money that you're spending on doing the sport is relative to that, because you want a reliable car, you want a competitive car. There's no point in spending money traveling the world drifting without a good car. So I think that's, and again, the detail for me is everything with these builds. You know, we had a look around James Dean's car when we were in Poland last year, and he was like a kid that had got a toy and was showing you everything. Like he had a remote control, like look at this and look at this, and those details I think are what makes them so special. And I think what's made you guys have such a reputation across the world is those small details.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is like most of the guys when they like, oh guys, you are so expensive. This is so expensive. So, but like if you look in the terms within 3 years, you're gonna spend even more than instead of buying the prep chassis or the car ourselves, by fixing and spending the money and just having no results for your supporters or sponsors, instead of just being on the racetrack all the time and having fun.
I suppose the proof is in the pudding. He gave a car to James Dean. James Dean won the European Championship in it in 1 year. So it goes to show guys do well in those cars. Well guys, thank you so much, Kristaps, for showing us.
Do it once and do it right way.
Exactly. That's exactly the opposite of what we do usually, but we're now learning as we go along. Usually we build it badly 3 times and then realize that we need to build it right. But thank you guys for watching. Kristaps, thank you for having us. Amazing to be here in HGK. We're about to head to Drift Masters, to the main event of the weekend, and it was just such an awesome thing to do, to go in and check out where a lot of the special cars, and probably some of the cars that are going to end up on the podium this weekend, actually come from this to being a professional, top, world famous drift car right here in this garage in Latvia. So Kristaps, thanks for having us. We'll see you guys.
Thank you.
And best of luck in the competition this weekend. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments. What an amazing place. We're here in Riga. We've got some more stuff to see over the next couple of episodes. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.